Of deadly tornadoes. The hardest hit areas include Kentucky and Missouri.
On the Gulf Coast with breaking news and weather. Fox 10 Midday starts now.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us here on Fox 10 Midday. Happy Monday. I'm Ashlyn Mitchell.
And I'm Jennifer Lambert.
And as always, we're talking about our forecast. First things first, Jen, a beautiful hot weekend. I'm wondering, will it get any better?
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah,
a little bit's better than nothing.
Exactly. Midweek, we do have some improvements on the way. We're not going to be noticing a big difference with the actual air temperature, but the humidity, the stickiness out there, that'll feel so much better. Yes. So let's go ahead, dive into your forecast. I can break down exactly what I'm tracking out there, but starting off first with the cloud cover, the sunshine. Things, they're calm, they're quiet across the southeast. Things are a little active closer towards South Carolina, Georgia, but that's not going to have any impact on us. We are going to be staying dry heading into today. That mix of sun, a little bit more cloud cover is what the Futurecast wants to bring in later on this afternoon, but not expecting those disruptions out there, just continuing to look beautiful. What you can't see in this camera view, however, is how hot it is feeling out there. Those winds, they're breezy just out of the south, right around 5 to 10 miles per hour. But keep in mind, when they're coming out of the south, they're just bringing in more of that Gulf moisture, something that we have an abundance of over the Gulf waters. And so those temperatures, they're resting in the lower 80s, but due to that high humidity with dew points in the mid 70s, we're feeling more like 90 degrees. So those temperatures all across the Gulf Coast right now, not even seeing any 70s really. Bruton, the only one, the outlier right now, is seeing some of those upper 70s. Everywhere else now beginning to warm up into a range of the 80s. Over the next few hours, those temperatures only continuing to tick up. We'll be maxing out mid to really upper 80s, those lower 90s for our inland spots, especially as you travel closer towards northern Washington County, Clark County, Monroe County. That's where we're going to be seeing more of those 91s, 92s. But keep in mind, it's going to be feeling warmer out there because of the dew points, that measurement of humidity. And that's where we're starting to see more of those lower to mid 70s. But as we do take a look over the next few days, I mentioned that midweek cold front. It's not going to do too much for our daytime highs. We'll start to see mainly the mid 80s, not so much the upper 80s. However, the dry air, that's what's going to be moving in. That's going to be making the biggest difference. We'll turn noticeable with that. Dew points in the mid 60s by Wednesday and Thursday. And look at Friday, so much better. It's going to be feeling really improvement out there. And daytime highs could even be feeling a little bit cooler once you take into account that dry air. I'll break down more on what I mean by that. Plus also when I'm tracking ahead as we get closer towards the holiday weekend. All of those details are coming up in just a little bit. Ashlyn.
Jen, thank you. Happening right now, relief efforts are underway following devastating tornadoes in parts of the Midwest, which left a path of destruction in its way and hundreds of people homeless. Fox News correspondent Caroline Shively is in St. Louis with the story.
More than 24 people are dead in Kentucky and Missouri following tornadoes on Friday that uprooted trees, leveled buildings, and flipped cars. Despite the devastation, volunteers say residents are trying to stay positive.
Even from the people that lost everything, you know, they got high hopes to build a better tomorrow. One
man in London, Kentucky said he huddled in a closet with his family's 2 large dogs.
I'd never really felt that kind of power from, you know, just nature.
His house avoided major damage, but other homes in Missouri saw the worst of it.
The door was sucked out of my hand as my roof was torn out from my house.
Some St. Louis residents say they've never seen devastation like this. Many are now left homeless and asking for help.
If people can give hands and the cleanup and getting tarps on people's houses. I know I have a lot of elderly neighbors out here that can't do this themselves. This is a very overwhelming situation.
The devastating storms come at a time where the Weather Service is struggling with staffing cuts. One office in Kentucky is no longer operating at 24/7 capacity, but agency officials say the short staffing did not affect their ability to issue tornado warnings over the weekend. The mayor here estimates the damage to this city alone stands at more than $1 billion. In St. Louis, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
And also this morning, investigations continue into what the FBI is calling an act of terrorism over the weekend after a deadly explosion took place outside a fertility clinic in Southern California. Officials say they are quote, fairly confident that the suspect of the bombing was 25-year-old Guy Edward Bartkus, and he died in a car bomb explosion. A body was found near the remains of a charred vehicle outside the clinic. Testing will be done to verify that the body is indeed Bartkus. Investigators say Bartkus left behind, quote, anti-pro-life writings and even attempted to live stream the blast. The discharge sparking confusion among several witnesses in that area.
You heard this big boom and a big rattle and a shake, and I thought because we were so close to a hospital that one of the helicopters had an accident coming in.
At least 4 other people were hurt in that explosion, but a doctor said at the facility says no members of their team were injured. In the meantime, authorities have increased the award for information on the whereabouts of 7 missing inmates who escaped from a Louisiana jail. Early Friday morning, 10 inmates breached the wall at the New Orleans Justice Center in New Orleans. They went through a door used to bring in supplies, scaled a wall, and ran across the interstate. You can see them jumping on your screen there. 3 inmates have been captured, but 7 are still on the loose.
7 dangerous inmates have been on the streets for more than 2 days, and we strongly believe that there are folks out there helping these inmates evade capture. The FBI wants to know, along with our law enforcement partners, that the FBI will work together to ensure that those people helping these inmates evade recapture will be held accountable.
The ATF is offering a $5,000 award on top of a $2,000 award from Crime Stoppers and another $5,000 award from the FBI. Investigators say as of this morning, they have, quote, active leads. Well, meanwhile, former President Joe Biden is battling an aggressive form of prostate cancer. His office made the official announcement yesterday, sharing he received the diagnosis Friday, and the cancer cells have since spread to his bone. Fox's Rebecca Castor has more on the prognosis and reaction from Washington.
Former President Biden sharing his first message on X Monday morning since his cancer diagnosis was revealed. Cancer touches us all. Like so many of you, Jill and I have learned that we are strongest in the broken places. Thank you for lifting us up with love and support.
He is a fighter, and he is somebody who is relentlessly optimistic.
Biden's office announced Sunday he was diagnosed just before the weekend with an aggressive form of prostate cancer, which has metastasized to the bone.
I can't tell you for sure, but he didn't just get this overnight. He's had this for months and months. Even if it is aggressive, it's a Gleason 9, which means under the microscope, group 5, under the microscope, it's quite aggressive.
Biden's last official medical exam as president was in February of last year, when his doctor gave him a clean bill of health. Experts say it's uncommon to do the prostate-specific antigen test for men over 70, but the president of the United States is not your average patient.
You can miss prostate cancer, but most of the time regular screening picks it up. A sitting president, I would expect to have advanced screening.
Biden's diagnosis comes as Democrats are facing fierce criticism over how the party handled last year's election, and a new book comes out tomorrow on their alleged attempts to cover up Biden's mental decline.
It's painfully obvious President Biden should not have run.
Biden's office says even though this is an aggressive form of cancer, there are treatments available, and President Biden and his family are reviewing options. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
And new this morning, the World Health Organization is making adjustments to account for big funding cuts. WHO Director General calling for leaders to make adjustments to accommodate a reduced budget for 2026 to 2027. That's in the wake of Trump administration funding cuts and plans to withdraw the U.S. from the organization. Member countries are expected to agree to raise annual dues by 20%, but the Director General says the organization can't do everything it's been asked to do with the current resources it has.
Let's be clear. A reduced workforce means a reduced scope of work. The organization simply cannot do everything member states have asked it to do with the resources available. This week, you will consider a reduced program budget of $4.2 billion.
Now, member countries are also expected to agree to a pandemic treaty intending to prevent any unequal response to a future COVID-19-like pandemic. Well, right now, we're getting a look at newly released video of the minutes leading up to the arrest of Columbia University graduate and Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil. The video shows the lobby of Khalil's campus apartment building the day of his arrest in March. Now, Khalil's legal team says the footage contradicts the government's claim that he was a flight risk, which officers said justified the lack of an arrest warrant. Those issues are central to Khalil's case, challenging the legality of his ongoing detention. According to the government, Khalil said before the arrest that he would not cooperate and was going to leave the scene. The agent believed there was a flight risk and then arrested him. As of right now, Khalil remains in custody in Louisiana. Well, leaders in Alabama are working to launch a domestic violence registry. Officials say it could be the first in the country. It's known as House Bill 599, and it was created by Alabama Representative Chad Robertson after a domestic violence survivor reached out with the idea. This bill would require the Alabama State Law Enforcement Agency to establish and maintain a domestic violence database. That database would contain certain information about individuals convicted of domestic violence. Although the Alabama legislature is no longer in session, officials say they're ready for next year.
My dad and I were just talking amongst each other, and we were like, it's so sad that most victims of domestic violence, their abuser is a repeat offender. They've abused multiple people, and if we were to have a database or a registry where these perpetrators were listed, the public would be able to stay aware and, possibly save their life if they were to know the person that they were getting involved with.
And for resources on domestic violence, you can head to breakthesilenceal.org. Well, breaking right now at the request of the Mobile County District Attorney's Office, a judge dismissed a child sexual abuse charge against Jane Watson. Back in November of 2023, Watson was arrested after a relative of the defendant accused him of sexually abusing her several years ago when she was younger than 12. Prosecutors say the girl has recanted. In the meantime, a judge today called the actions of Patrick Lewis in September 2021, quote, fundamentally evil and inhumane. He sentenced him to life in prison for murder and 30 years for robbery. And he ordered them to be served one after the other. A jury in February found Lewis guilty in the shooting death of Brian Maynard Jr. Prosecutors presented evidence that Lewis and two co-defendants ambushed Maynard at the Shops at Bel Air, where the victim had driven from his home in North Carolina to sell a diamond-studded watch. Prosecutors say Lewis fired 3 shots into Maynard's car. Lewis's attorney says his client will appeal. Also this morning, Loxley police are looking into an animal cruelty case. Officials say police responded to a call on County Road 68 about a dead dog found under suspicious circumstances. Officials say the animal showed clear signs of cruel mistreatment or abuse. This dog was later identified as 2-year-old Australian Shepherd Keo from Phoenix, Arizona. Now, Keo was reported missing back in 2023. A witness in that area saw a dark-colored 4-door sedan near the dog's location. If you have any information in this case, call Loxley Police right away. Well, coming up, Vice President Vance attends Pope Leo's first Mass in the Vatican City. Plus, Republicans are set to vote on President Trump's big, beautiful bill this week, but it wasn't easy to get those votes. The latest after the break, but first, Jen, it is toasty out there.
Yeah, that is exactly right. Taking a live view outside down on Dauphin Island, just starting to see some of that sunshine, some more of that cloud cover. Winds just very light out of the south, but over the next few hours, those temperatures going to continue to rest in the lower 80s. Some mostly cloudy skies making an appearance, but it's going to be feeling toasty due to higher humidity. I'll be breaking down more of your forecast details coming up when we come back.
Falls profoundly short. It does not do what we say it does with respect to deficits.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
Meanwhile, Vice President J.D. Vance has met the new Pope. The U.S. leader and Pope Leo XIV met at the Vatican earlier today. Pope Leo led his inaugural mass yesterday with delegates from all over the world in attendance, including Vance and his wife, Second Lady Usha Vance, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio. According to Vance's office, the leaders discussed their shared goal of ending the conflict with Russia and the current state of negotiations for a ceasefire. Prior to becoming Pope, Pope Leo had shared criticism of Trump and Vance over policies on social media. Well, whether by plane, train, or car, Americans are expected to get away in record numbers over the long Memorial Day weekend, despite economic and technical concerns across the nation. Right now, AAA is reporting over 45 million people, that's 1.4 million more than last year, will travel at least 50 miles from their homes between Thursday and Monday. The organization expects most people to be hitting the road, with 87% of travelers driving to their Memorial Day destinations. According to transportation data firm INRIX, the worst holiday traffic will be in the Thursday and Friday afternoons and evenings. And on Memorial Day itself, the worst time on the roads is expected to be between 4 and 7 p.m.
We're ready to go. Stephen Moody, Fox 10 News.
Stephen, thank you. Well, straight ahead on Fox 10 Midday, how to talk to your kids about mental health, especially as the summer approaches. Plus, we have the best cities to start a career. That story and more in your business headlines. Thanks for watching Fox 10 Midday. Stay close.
California-based DNA testing company 23andMe is being sold to a biotech company. Regeneron Pharmaceuticals of Tarrytown, New York, will pay $256 million to buy 23andMe, lifting the company out of bankruptcy reorganization. The Wall Street Journal says the deal includes substantially all of 23andMe's assets, including the biobank of customers' genetic samples and data. Diageo, the UK company that makes Guinness, Johnny Walker whiskey, Casamigos tequila, and many other brands, is expecting a $150 million annual hit on its profits from U.S. tariffs. It's still standing by its earnings forecast for the year, and it says sales rose nearly 6% in the quarter ending in March, as customers stocked up in anticipation of tariffs. The estimate assumes that the current 10% tariff on UK and European imports into the U.S. stays in place, and that Mexican and Canadian spirits imports remain exempt. In this survey, it's Hotlanta for Atlanta, taking first in the Wallet Hub list of best and worst places to start a career. Wallet Hub's list ranked a total of 182 cities, using over 24 metrics ranging from job growth rate and starting salary averages to average commute and housing affordability to determine their overall position. Orlando, Tampa, Austin, and Miami rounded out the top 5. CJ Papa, Fox News.
Listen up. Ford is recalling thousands of SUVs over potential brake issues. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Ford is calling back about 273,000 vehicles from its Ford Explorer and Lincoln Navigator brands. The recall applies to vehicles from model years 2022 through 2024. Ford says design issues can cause parts from an engine air cleaner outlet to come into contact with front brake lines. This could cause possible wear and possible rapid brake fluid leaks that could lead to a crash. Only 1% of the vehicles, though, are estimated to be affected. No known crashes or injuries due to the issue have been reported. Ford says owners of affected vehicles should bring cars to Ford dealers for inspections and free repairs on the involved parts if needed. In the meantime, Wells Enterprises has recalled more than 16,000 gallons of frozen yogurt and ice cream. Company officials say it's due to a possible plastic contamination. The products were distributed to 103 distribution centers nationwide. They were sold in 3-gallon tubes and includes 22 flavors. Now, the affected products all have a best buy date ranging from March of this year to October 2026. Thankfully, no sicknesses or injuries have yet been reported.
By the weekend, but that humidity dropping will be fantastic. A couple of rain chances as we get closer towards the holiday weekend. I'll talk more about that coming up in just a little bit. Ashlyn.
Thank you, Jen. It's a critical part of overall well-being. Mental health plays a huge role in how we think, feel, and act. And experts say caregivers and parents, of course, greatly influence the development of a child's mental health. In today's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither has more on how to talk to your kids about their mental health so they can be set up for success.
You take care of their physical health, and experts say it's just as important for parents to help children develop good mental health.
It's natural for us to not bring things up until it's top of mind or until it's a problem. The issue with that is that kids are looking to us. They need a guide.
Licensed therapist Jody Baumstein with Children's Healthcare of Atlanta says when parents talk about mental health, be open and honest. If it's never talked about, that's sending a message that it's off limits. Instead, she says to create a comfortable space where kids can ask questions, talk about feelings, and grow into adults who do that. She says to normalize these conversations.
Validate their questions, their curiosity, their confusion, whatever feelings they have, validating that experience. That's what creates a sense of safety.
Baumstein says it's also important to use age-appropriate language that's clear and concise so that it doesn't feel like it's over their head. She says to also check for clarity, making sure a child understands. Finally, Baumstein says to encourage them to not only ask for help, but to receive it. And she says a good way to do that is by modeling it yourself.
Show them that it's okay to talk to a friend, lean on someone for support. It's also okay to get help from a licensed professional.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Great advice there. Now to a fun story. Mobile joined thousands of cities in a stylish on-road motorcycle fundraiser for men's health awareness. The Distinguished Gentleman's Ride is a worldwide charity event where riders raise money to support men's health and prostate cancer research. Now the ride also supports Movember, a leading charity focused on men's mental health. Motorcycle enthusiasts dressed in their finest dapper attire gathered in Mobile to raise money for a good cause. Both men and women wore vintage-style attire and united in a parade of classic-inspired motorcycles. One of the riders says it's important to bring awareness to men's health.
I just think people need to be more aware about it all, honestly, because, I mean, men, we don't really get the recognition we deserve when it comes to that part of our lives, because we're supposed to be the strong ones.
Now, over $7,000 was raised overall at the event. If you're interested in learning more about the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride or how to give, you can find the link on our website. That's fox10tv.com. Well, we are just a day away until Carry the Load makes a stop in Mobile and Pensacola. For more than 14 years, the nonprofit continues to honor men and women who gave their lives in service to our country. The organization is working to put the focus back on the true meaning of Memorial Day by raising awareness and funding with relay events all across the country. The Carry the Load event in Mobile will be at Battleship Memorial Park tomorrow. Check-in starts at 3:30. The relay begins at 4 and goes until 6. There will also be 3 events in Pensacola tomorrow as well. There will be one at the Home Depot on North Davis Highway at 7:30 a.m. Then at 10 a.m., the event at Veterans Memorial Park, Pensacola takes place. And at 11, an event will happen at the Blue Wahoo Stadium. Well, straight ahead on Fox 10 Midday, a city in Massachusetts getting together for the largest pancake breakfast. Ooh, I'm getting hungry there. Why it happened after the break. And a major earthquake did strike the northern Tohoku region that month.
So a new version of the comic book, which came out in 2021, predicts another major earthquake would happen in July of 2025.
Wow. And fearing history repeating itself on the printed page, many travelers are deciding against a trip to Japan this summer.
A Hong Kong travel agency says bookings to Japan fell by half over Easter and are expected to further fall in the weeks ahead.
Premonitions of major Japanese disasters this year were also made by others, including a popular feng shui master and a self-proclaimed Japanese psychic.
So not everyone is convinced about the potential of impending doom.
Yeah, the Japan National Tourism Organization says it had a record-breaking 10.5 million visitors during the first quarter of the year. That's a lot of people. So probably not too many worries there. It's kind of interesting how a comic book.
I want to know if
so many people.
if they actually did cancel over this.
That's wild if they did.
Because it just said that it's down, but also it could be finances, it could be a bunch of other.
I want to see this book too. I wonder how scary it is.
Why come out with another version?
Right. Okay. Well, in the meantime, crowds gathered in Springfield, Massachusetts for a delicious weekend.
Yeah. So on Saturday, the city held what is dubbed as the quote world's largest pancake breakfast.
Love it. Now, a little misty weather was not enough to dampen the spirits of all those hungry residents who turned out.
The breakfast was put on by the nonprofit group Spirit of Springfield.
And according to the group's website, the annual event is all about bringing the community together to celebrate the city's May 14th, 1636 founding. Now, Jen, I went back to the website to kind of see what it was all about. At first, I thought this was the world's largest pancake. Like everybody was gathering to eat this massive pancake, and then I was like, no, it's just the amount of people that showed up. And I think they had about 14,000 this year. It was a lot of fun.
I love it. Because especially that's a food that everyone can get behind. You're all celebrating together, and especially celebrating the founding of that almost 400 years ago.
Incredible.
So I can't wait to see the 2036 version of it. We might have to all plan a trip to go enjoy those pancakes. Yes. Well, let's go ahead and talk more about your forecast right now. And just a reminder, it's a great time to go ahead and download the Fox 10 weather app. That way you're staying updated with the forecast, because we do have some changes on the way. We're going to be talking about rain chances, our temperatures, the humidity. This is a great way to stay updated with it. We do have an hourly forecast here that's going to be based on your location. So if you're in different parts of the area in different counties, this will be more reflective of what you can expect with those temperatures and the winds. Plus, also, we do have that daily forecast too. Just something to keep in mind moving forward, because this is something that our team of meteorologists here do update. But let's go ahead and talk more about your forecast, what I'm tracking out there, and the temperatures. We're warming up, not seeing any of those 70s anymore. We're just seeing a range of the 80s out there. But keep in mind the humidity, the feels like temperatures feeling much warmer. We're feeling more like the lower to mid 90s. Milton just soaring out there, feeling like 97. Feeling like 93 in Atmore, along with Molino and Lucedale, and already feeling like 95 up in Leakesville. But as we get further along into the rest of today, we're only going up. Daytime highs maxing out upper 80s, isolated 90s further inland. But those feels like temperatures going to be getting closer towards the upper 90s heading into this afternoon. Stay hydrated, take breaks, find some shade. But I want to go ahead and talk about this. The CPC, the Climate Prediction Center, does have very, very high chances for portions closer towards Ohio, Kentucky, to the mid-south, closer towards the Midwest, to see below average temperatures, cooler than normal. Reminder, darker color, it's not the temperatures, it's going to be the probabilities. High chances with that cold front we're anticipating by midweek. This will be a little cooler than average, but not too big of a change. I'll have a final look at your 10-day outlook coming up in just a little bit. Ashley and I will be right back after this break.
Lots of interesting space weather stories there. The dust in Chicago was pretty wild.
Yeah, pretty wild.
I've never seen that before.
I haven't seen it quite in Chicago before. Normally you could typically see that closer towards the Arizonas, but in California, wild things to see. Luckily, none of that here. We're just dealing with already our summertime pattern on the Gulf Coast. It's that heat, that humidity working together, not quite introducing those afternoon pop-up showers and storms just yet, but don't worry, that'll come as we dive deeper into the month of June. For today, temperatures maxing out mid to upper 80s, lower 90s, feeling hotter, feeling more like the mid to upper 90s once you do take that high humidity into account. Things still feeling toasty heading into this evening, feeling like the lower 80s by 9 o'clock. o'clock. And we will start to see some minor relief once we get closer towards midweek when that cold front begins to move in. Look at that. Feels like temperatures mid to upper 80s. We rejoice at seeing those because at least it's an improvement in comparison to what we're seeing. And it's actually cooler than what the air temperature is going to be. Now, as we do get closer towards the weekend, it's a holiday weekend, Memorial Day. Remember why we are celebrating it, but it is the unofficial start to summer. And we will start to introduce some minor rain chances, but it is just more reflective of that summertime pattern. It's not widespread. It's not constant. You're going to start to see some breaks in that rain coverage. So just plan out your days, but I'm really not too concerned about those 20% you see on Saturday or Sunday. Pool, beach, things are going to be looking great. Also, just a quick reminder that it is termite swarming season. I don't know if you've been seeing them.
I have.
Outside.
I killed 3 in my house last night.
Learn the hard way. Turn off your exterior lights at night. I'm seeing a lot of Facebook posts, people not quite familiar with them. Again, turn off all exterior lights to help avoid some of those termites out there.
Speaking to me, Jen, for sure.
Yeah, I know. We all need the reminder.
Yes, thank you for watching Fox 10 Midday. It's the start of a brand new week. We'll see you at 3 o'clock.